Ladies, are you the one who gets it all done? Always pushing forward? Always striving? In the constant chase for success, when was the last time you took a moment just for you? We're always on the go, rushing from one task to the next, barely pausing to catch our breath. What if we took a moment to pause? Imagine listening in, really listening, to the wind, to your heartbeat, to your soul. What if slowing down was the key, a chance to discover a deeper connection with yourself? And from that connection expand it to those you love, to the moments that truly matter. Pause, reflect, connect. It's time to live fully from the inside out. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to a Soulful Pause. I am so excited to have all of you here, and we are going to try to get rid of this little thing here. Okay, all right, we're here and we're ready. So, I'm Josette Diaz, and I'm a self-awareness coach for women in midlife. I love to work with the high-achieving ladies, and I bring high-achieving women onto this show. And when I speak of high-achieving in the positive sense, these are the women that are conscious and they are out to shift the world paradigm. And so I'm bringing back Sue Ellen Sweeny. And I am so excited to have this conversation continue it a little further because we had such a great talk a couple of weeks ago. I think it was the 3rd of October. And Sue Ellen is a certified life mastery consultant and life coach. And she works with families to assist them in becoming more aware of their patterns, correct? Am I stating all of
Right,
this correct?
right. And be more conscious, like you said, conscious
Mhm.
and intentional about how they're creating family life. Yeah.
Yes. Yes, I love that. And we had such a good conversation talking about all the beginning bits, like how do people reach out to her, what kinds of clients come to her, what she helps them with. And today I wanted to kind of extend this conversation into, I'm sorry, my dog has inside sneezing. So if you hear a sound, that's what it is. Um, and what I wanted to further our conversation on was really diving into a little bit more of, as adults, we have our inner child. And what are those types of conversations that impact the family? And
Really good questions.
where
Yeah.
does that lead? How do you handle that as a coach and a life mastery consultant?
Right. So you're speaking of the inner child and how that aspect of who we are influences us as adults.
Yes, yes.
Right. Well, the new system that I'm coaching people in as a foundation for my coaching is called positive intelligence. And it's a system developed by Shirzad Chamine, and he wrote a book called Positive Intelligence that you can look up as well. And he identified these patterns of thinking that are in our brains, and they are how we manifest that inner child in the
Mhm.
world. So, an example, I'll just give you a quick example without going too deep into that. If, as a child, we developed a pattern of pleasing others,
Mhm.
which many children do, and that was my pattern. And it becomes really an entrenched neural pathway in our brain. It can sabotage us as adults. So that's bringing that neural pathway from childhood into adulthood at an unconscious level. And there's good things about being a pleaser. Pleasers are flexible, they're empathetic, their understanding, so that we have these natural qualities of who we are, what we bring to the world as children, and we overuse them because they work for us.
That's really true, right? Because we get everyone, it's natural, it's human nature to
Mm-hmm.
stay in your comfort zone, right?
Right,
Because that's where it's safe.
right,
So it makes sense to people please everywhere if that seems to be what works.
right. And another example is a controller, someone who believes that, I need to do this or nobody will. And this is a very uncomfortable situation. I'm
Yeah,
anxious that things aren't happening. So I need to take charge. And then that taking charge becomes, the pattern of being that is their
yeah,
go-to strategy of interacting in their, personal lives and in their professional lives. And
true.
it
I
can
I've
interfere.
yes, it's so true. I've even seen control bleed into other areas as well, like, it's a way if you control, then you also can ward people off and keep them at distance.
Right.
So, it's also a way of what you might think is keeping a boundary,
Hmm.
so it can leak into other areas of your life as well.
Right. And it is all about keeping safe, feeling
Right.
safe.
Yeah. How do you think, so tell me, in working with families and working with belief systems and all the things that you dive into, how much work is done with the inner child in assisting parents in creating more harmony in their family life and in their relationships with their family unit? Sounds so removed, but
Right. Well, it's interesting because I don't really use inner child. I don't,
Mhm.
say that I do deep inner child work. As a coach, I believe that I know that I'm not a therapist. I know I
Right.
don't go deep
Yeah.
into some of the trauma and the wounding. Yet
No.
I help people become more aware of what's affecting them now
Mhm.
on a day-to-day basis. I help them explore and understand their emotions and their thoughts and how they impact, taking action and everything else in their lives.
Yes.
Does that
So
answer your question?
a little bit. I guess I was asking more or less, do you notice this? I guess maybe the better way to ask the question is, do you notice that there are patterns from childhood that are definitely impacting your adult life? And does the work point that out? That's probably a better way to ask the question because I wasn't really trying to ask you,
Okay.
like, how deep do you go with people? That's not what
Gotcha.
I meant. 'Cause that's
Gotcha.
not what we do as coaches. So,
Right,
let's
right.
make that
So yeah, I
clear.
think that is
Yeah,
important to talk about though,
yeah,
because I think it's a big question for people.
I think it
Um,
is.
yes, absolutely. I mean, it's an increase in consciousness of, the patterns that we have brought into the now from our
Yeah,
past,
yeah,
and it's all everything up until now and what have been our responses and our reactions. And I've heard it said that more than 90% of the people are really operating mostly on unconscious programming.
yes, right?
We're responding and we're reacting
Mhm.
to events and circumstances and, people in ways that were just really just come automatically. And this really shows up in parenting. Right?
I think everything shows up in parenting.
I know. Yeah, it really does. I mean, it feels like, before you're a parent, you can hold it together and you're,
Yeah,
doing it the best way you can. You go into parenting knowing you're wanting to do it better than your parents did. I mean,
right.
that's a normal intention and
Mhm.
desire. Yet it's just so easy to fall back into the patterns that we have in our brain. It's like tapes
Yeah,
playing in our head that
mhm,
just get triggered, by,
mhm.
you know,
It's
spilled
really
milk
true. Yeah,
or, a child doing something they don't, they're not supposed to do that you've told them 15 times not to do, but we get triggered and unconsciously react. So, yeah, my
Yeah.
work is helping people become more aware of how to shift that, what's going on inside of them,
Mhm.
so that they can take care of themselves,
Right.
with their own, getting in touch with their own feelings and needs, so that they can stay in a place of what Shirzad calls the sage brain,
Mm.
the more wise self, the self, the bigger self that's more creative and empathetic
Mhm.
and innovative, right?
Yes. I love that you're bringing that up because we do have everyone has that place within them that has the wise sage, right?
Right, we do.
And it's a matter of tapping into that. So how do you lead your parents into that part of themselves?
It's a simple process. The first thing is awareness. The
Mhm.
first thing is noticing how you're showing up and being more aware of your feelings. If
Mhm.
they're negative, they're most likely these saboteur energies, this patterning. So that awareness and then labeling it, saying, "Oh, that's my judge, that's my self-critic,"
Yeah.
and that's is that my highest and best self? No, probably not.
Mhm.
And it takes a shift for the brain to move from that place,
Yeah.
where the neural pathways are very well worn, to the calmer, more right brain capacities, that are calmer and more clear minded. So what I help my clients do is practice some simple mindfulness exercises to get them to that place. And most of them, all of them, it's just like in psychiatric nursing when we did grounding exercises. There's so
Mhm.
many similarities to, CBT and other
Yeah.
strategies that are
Yeah.
really researched and really well. You just really need to ground yourself in your body. So you notice what's going on with you label it without judgment, and you choose to ground yourself and calm that that activation that's in
Mhm.
your mind, so that you
Mhm.
can choose to come from one of these sage powers like empathy. You can choose empathy. You can
Yes.
choose um, to explore what is really going on here.
That reminds me of a CBT. It's cognitive behavioral training, right? Is that correct?
Right, right.
Therapy,
Yeah.
excuse me. Um, the wise mind choice.
Okay. Yeah.
Separating out the facts from
Hmm.
your beliefs and emotions,
Hmm.
and then looking at both of those columns and making up a wise mind choice, which
Yeah.
is usually a combination of both.
Right.
So it's left brain, right brain, bringing it together, which
Right.
I love that exercise. And is there another exercise that can help parents start to discover this part of themselves that you work with them? I know you said mindfulness, but is there a technique or an exercise you can give the audience so that we can have something to take away and practice?
Right. Absolutely. Great question. What I'm really discovering, and this is through my own life journey as well, something that I wish I would have done is self connect, in a deeper way and really
Mhm.
understand what was going on with myself. And what I really love is the work of Kristen Neff in self compassion.
Mm.
And there's others that have really embraced the concept of as well. And some of the exercises are really simple. It can be taking some deep breaths, closing your eyes, and putting your hand on your heart.
Mm. That's
to
like
just
so
say,
simple.
yeah,
Yeah.
so I'm okay. This is suffering. I'm feeling really sad.
Mhm.
Acknowledging emotions takes their power away.
Right.
Emotions don't last that long. In truth,
That's
though,
true.
yeah, if we allow them
Mhm.
to have their expression,
Mhm.
we're naturally inclined to move on.
Right, it's the pattern of the thoughts that can
Right.
keep conjuring up the emotion and keep it moving and then elevating. And the more that we focus on that, like most people have heard this, that when you
Mhm.
pay attention to something, it gets bigger. It's like, your energy energy flows where your attention goes. There's a whole slew of
Right.
sayings like this. And and I think that if we can stay aware, like you're mentioning, just acknowledging the emotion, it's like
Mhm.
humans, we need witnessing, right? Like we
Mhm.
all need to be able to express some extent of our story. It doesn't mean that we have to live there, stay there, continue to, move from there
Mhm.
or anything else. And it allows us to get it out of our system, so to speak.
Right. Right. And we're not used to doing it. We're just not used to
Yeah.
doing that. I think we're conditioned in our culture, in our families, in our growing up to do all kinds of crazy things with our emotions. We repress them, project them. We, blame and shame ourselves and others
Mhm.
because it's so uncomfortable. Um, so it's a process. It's a process of really understanding who we are in a whole different realm. My biggest understanding and growth in understanding emotions has been through training in NVC, nonviolent communication.
Mhm.
That's with Marshall Rosenberg, and there's some great teachers and mentors that I've had, and they helped me to understand that I was not able to understand my own feelings and needs
Mm.
in a way that was serving me.
Mhm.
So that was been a system and a process that's really helped me to really increase my emotional intelligence
Mhm.
in a way that helps me to again be my best self and show up in the world and with the people I love in a way that I really would, will create the results that I would really love.
Right. So do you feel, um, that it's a matter of recognizing the feeling, making a statement, being in touch with it by just simply putting your hand on your heart and acknowledging the feeling?
Mm-hmm.
And then is there a process of either do you write that down if you have these, I mean, you're not gonna write down every single feeling you have all day, yet you can write down
Mm-hmm.
the big stuff, right? And then
Yeah.
is there a process of teasing out the awareness from those feelings? Or is it something a little more simple, like just doing a reframing how.
I like open-ended questions.
Yeah.
Like, what is it that I need right now?
Mm,
Um, how can I, shift this dynamic that's happening right now?
yeah.
And some emotions that are really big, they need a break. They need to be, sometimes you just need to take
Take a
yourself away from the
Yeah,
situation.
let them breathe, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And it'll take longer. It'll take, whatever works for you. It could be yoga, it could be going to the gym, it could be,
Mhm.
going in nature, it could be, distraction can be helpful sometimes to just like,
Yeah.
okay, and then go back to it and revisit it. in
Mhm.
a way that you can, with curiosity and compassion,
Yeah.
right?
I love that, that you're talking about leaving it an open-ended question to yourself allows it
Mhm.
to arrive.
Right.
So, the subconscious has an opportunity to let that marinate and rise up in you rather than you searching for answers,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
sometimes you
And
can't get to
yeah,
those. Yeah.
I love that you said that. One of the exercises in one of my coaching programs was, if you have a deep question inside of you and you feel really stuck, like how to move on, or big career decision or relationship problem,
Mhm.
and when your mind is telling you this is impossible, I can't do this,
Right.
there's too many obstacles, whatever it is your mind is telling you, you can frame a question in an open-ended way, just like you said beautifully, like on a note card at the side of your bed.
Mhm.
It's like,
Yeah.
how can I blank that blank? How can I? And then let your subconscious work on it as you sleep. It's powerful.
Yeah,
It's really
that's right.
amazing.
It's right, and if you set your sleep up for opportunity,
Hmm.
you can awaken with answers.
Yeah.
There I mean, there's all kinds of different ways that you can approach that, emotional intelligence that you're speaking of. I think that people don't
Hmm.
necessarily understand how to arrive to that,
Yeah, because
we
we're
talk about it.
so limited by our beliefs
Mhm. Yeah.
about what's happening, or we're overwhelmed with the feelings that we aren't able to manage and process in a healthy way,
Mhm. Yes,
which can
that's
lead
so
to other
true.
problems.
Yeah.
If we're projecting our inner issues and insecurities on our partner, it's not going to play out well
Mhm.
in the relationship. I see that happen a lot.
Yeah.
And I've
I
seen that in my own life. I mean, I think it's a really
yeah.
normal
Oh,
and
yeah.
natural thing.
Yes. And I think that, what you're talking about, everything plays out between other people, right? So if you're
Mhm.
wondering where you're at, just look at your relationships
Mhm.
because they're a reflection as to where you are, and you
Mhm.
can't control where someone else is coming from, but it's really basically what I mean by this is that your perception of what's happening around you is about you.
Mhm. Ooh, that's really powerful. It's really powerful. I could go to a couple different ways on that, but what I'd really love to say is that that is about energy and it's about mirror neurons.
Mhm.
Um, but what I love to emphasize is how children do that for us,
Yeah, yeah.
right? We
Mhm.
have, so I birthed and raised 6 children. They were all unique and different. They mirrored different aspects of myself to me,
Yeah,
you know, aspects that I liked and aspects that I didn't like.
right.
And I would love to go back and say, tell my younger self what an opportunity this is when your daughter's challenging you in this way, because it's an opportunity
Um,
to look at yourself.
yes.
Do you
Yeah.
know, you had that sort of
Oh, yeah.
epiphany?
Yes, yes. I have, 2 daughters. They're
Uh-huh.
both adults, and, they were 12 years apart. So, I had an opportunity to see what my younger self did in the way that I raised my oldest child, and, first always kind of get the practice, right?
Yeah.
And then I saw how I shifted and had changed in the way that I parented my 2nd child.
Sure.
There were definitely differences in my
Yeah.
approach and how I handled situations differently.
Uh-huh.
I think that, in that, I saw my own growth, and I also saw the things that I didn't know when I was younger you can only do what you know.
Mm-hmm.
And um, although I feel I did pretty darn good, there were places where I could see that I could have done differently.
Right. So I'm curious, you work with women in a later life
Hmm.
situation, transition. How could self-compassion be useful when some of these, stories come up
Mm, it's
in
huge.
people's, yeah.
Yeah, part of what I lead women to is being their own soulmate because
Mhm.
we spend, once we get to a certain age, we've been through
Mhm.
enough life experiences that we've learned a lot. And so
Mhm.
we start to see ourselves differently and we see our life differently. Yet, like you've
Mhm.
mentioned, there's all these habits and patterns and beliefs that we still carry with us. Depending on
Mhm.
how much work you've done on those things along the
Mhm.
way, some people can make those different shifts a lot faster and a lot easier, depending on where they are in their own personal evolution.
Mhm.
And others, it might take them a little bit of start, stop, start, stop. And all of
Mhm.
it's okay. All of it is just exactly where you're meant to be. So I find that even even in this most beautiful, precious time in our life, in midlife, we still have tend to have a tendency to put others first, to overgive, and I'm speaking about high achieving women. Not every woman does this. Some of us have, moved past some of it, and we'll still find ourselves there occasionally.
Mhm.
So it's looking at what is going on interiorly rather than expecting something outside of us to come in and make it all okay,
Yeah.
to put it all into place.
Yeah.
There's no one outside of you that's the missing piece to your puzzle. It's
Mhm.
all you.
And that is that growth, right? That is that
Mhm.
growth in wisdom. Um, I've been asking myself recently because I so badly want to pass on this wisdom to younger people. And at the same time, it's important for me to understand that there's different life passages and phases
Mhm.
that are
Mhm.
necessary to grow through. And I think part of what I'm sorting out is that one of something I'm sad about is the loss of that intergenerational
Mm.
engagement,
Yeah.
for families that
Mhm.
younger people can lean into the wisdom, of their elders, and
It's true.
not feel so overwhelmed, with where
Mhm.
they are, with their challenges, with their, whatever level or stage of personal growth and development they're at.
Yeah.
Because that wisdom is there. It doesn't have to be inside them. It's not going to happen when you're 20, right?
No. No, not really. You
Yeah.
know, I mean, I think that, there are when I look at the younger generation, I see very smart,
Mhm.
um, thoughtful, uh, wanting to create something better. That's what I
Mhm.
see. Those aspects kinda stand out to me the most.
Mhm.
And yet there is a certain amount of it's great to have this knowledge and this connection to those higher thoughts. And
Mhm.
then there is also something very valuable about the experience that brings those higher ideas into full expansion, because once you've lived enough experiences, those concepts have deeper meaning and they mean something more, they reveal something more.
Mhm.
And so, yes, at 20, you're not going to have, everything together and really completely understand it all.
Yeah, and it's again, it's natural. It's not a judgment. It's
Mhm.
this is the developmental phase of
Right.
life that I'm
Yes.
in. I mean, you can go to Maslow, generativity, and when you're building a family, these are
Yeah.
the this is the focus you need to have, at this stages of life, and those
Mhm.
developmental challenges can really hit you hard sometimes.
It's true, but there's such a benefit to it as well because
Hmm.
the amount of excitement, risk-taking that comes from being young,
Hmm.
um, really can make such big strides.
Right,
And
that energy. I
yeah,
wish I had that again. I look at my children and I'm like, wow, how, how do you do all of that? And maintain your sanity.
right?
They're incredible. They've got incredible, potential, and they're living into that, and they've got big dreams. Yeah. So
Yeah, it's
how do
really
you,
true.
balance all that?
So what else would you like to bring to, the attention of parents that you feel is one of the strongest messages that you would want to get across to a young family? Or
Hmm.
even a family that's, like, in the middle of I mean, they say that I hate to even bring this up, yet at the same time, I think it's kind of important is that they statistically say that marriages run into trouble in families when kids are in middle school.
Hmm.
Middle school to high school has nothing to do with the kids. Let's just say that. Those are, but those are like it's an expanded amount of time in a marriage, et cetera, et cetera. So what would you
Hmm. Wow. There's a lot. I mean, what you bring up as far as the challenges in the marriage, I mean, points to the need to stay connected with your partner.
right, yes.
That I know we thought we were, in my marriage,
Yeah,
yet it really, really was about, our career and the children and, the external things, and relationship is more than that. That's probably the theme that I'm going to respond to this question with. Family connection and relationship is so much more than the transactional things
yeah,
of life. Relationship is about that deep connection, that personal um, knowing that I matter to you, that
right.
ability to look in the other person's eyes
Mhm.
and know that you're okay and you belong, and this person sees me and knows me and accepts me for who I am. So that's in the partner relationship, and that's absolutely the primary need of children, is to know that they matter and they're connected to their family. And it
Yeah,
does, when they have that solid foundation to manage all the complexities of
that's
whatever
really
else is
true.
going on.
Because that provides the safety and security that children require to flourish in.
Right. So in my work with the mindset, I've
Mhm.
really seen it. That's that mind chatter that keeps us from
Right.
pausing. I know you speak about that.
Yeah.
Taking that pause, your video at the beginning was beautiful. To take that pause, and it doesn't have to be a long pause.
Right.
It
Yeah,
can
it
be
doesn't.
just noticing that your child is, pulling on your pants,
Mhm.
and sitting down and saying, "Hey, what do you need?"
Yeah. Right.
Even when you're busy making dinner and thinking
Mhm.
about, what you have to do for your meeting, in an hour, you can take that pause, and it's so important. So I think that's probably more than one message, but
I love
it
that. No,
makes
but
me
I like all
think.
those messages. I think they're great because I think it's so important that, we see our children,
Yeah.
um, and I love that, like taking just one moment and asking, what is it that you're needing right now?
Yeah.
It's not about like, stop bothering me, go do something, or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
To fix this, that it's a problem that
yeah,
this little being, is wanting some attention, right?
yeah, yeah. There's a need they want met.
Yeah. Yeah. And it might not
And
take as much as you think.
right, exactly. It could be just a moment, or it's an
Right.
explanation of, okay, I can do that with you when I'm done doing this. So you'll have to prioritize.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So I know that makes it kind of sometimes sound simple because everybody has, you know, different circumstances and different things are going on in the moment. And it can be, um, feel hectic in your life. And it feels like you have a lot on your plate. Yet I think the things that you help families with is just so incredibly important, and you give them that space to really start to lean into what's important to them.
Yeah, I'd like to help them with that. And it's not from myself doing it all right. I can tell you for
Yeah,
sure. So that's the other big message. It's like you're never going to feel like you did it all right. You're going to have challenges. You're going to
true.
make mistakes. You're going to have, you know, situations in your life that feel overwhelming. And it's all part of it. It's all part of the journey, yours and whoever's in your life.
Yes, yes. I have a question for you though before we wrap up. Um, I want to know, have you yet worked with any parents that have older children that are getting ready to go into adulthood or are in young adulthood that you've worked with? And what's the difference between parenting young versus parenting adult children? Because you still are a parent even when you have adult children, and it's different.
Yes, I love the question. My approach would be the same, is look at what it is for you.
Hmm.
How is this phase, this developmental stage of your family life impacting you? And do some of the same processes. It is a different phase of life. I can say as a parent, I
Yeah.
found that the most challenging phase of
Yeah.
parenting was
Yeah.
the launching and the
Hmm.
letting go. There's a lot of inner stuff that this is the work that you do. There's a lot of inner stuff shifting. There's so much that parents, mothers sacrifice in
Hmm.
their lives while they're raising children. And we get attached to that. Not a bad
Yes.
thing. It's a natural thing. We're attached to the role as a mother.
Right.
We're attached to taking the whole weekend to plan a, graduation soccer
Hmm.
celebration. There's a loss. There's a
Yeah.
loss in
Yeah.
moving on.
Yeah.
That's another thing that I really like to just bring attention to, is that there's grief and loss in these transitions.
Hmm. It's
And that's something to acknowledge,
yes. Yes.
that there's sadness,
Hmm.
in this. And what do I need to do to take care of myself in order that I can give my child the freedom
Yeah.
to be who they are and chart their own course.
Mm.
That's a big challenge. I've thought about really focusing on that phase of parenting, and I would love to work with parents in that phase. I just decided to choose to move towards an earlier phase,
Hmm.
to impact people at an earlier phase so they can bring more joy into the whole process, you know,
Right. Right. Yeah.
right?
That
Yeah,
makes a lot of sense. I mean, obviously, if someone was going through what we just spoke of, that transitional period, you have so many tools that can help them. And
right.
and so there for you as well, yet your specialty is younger families so that you build, um, oh, what's the word? I wanna say, like, you're setting them up for a lifetime of success.
Yeah.
The things that you work with families on not only help the individual, they're helping the family unit. It's making
Mhm.
corrections in, how they move forward. And I love the healing process that you bring because you're bringing healing not only to them in the current present moment, it heals the past and it heals their future.
Mhm. Yes, it's so important in creating a family life that the foundation is not simply like these challenges are big, having a house, having a job,
Right,
right?
right, right.
Yet to look into what is family beyond that. I mean, I just watched on the news, there was a clip about this woman who gave birth to a child and she's living in a refugee camp. I think it was in Israel or God, I don't know where it was because I just picked up the end of it. But there was 4 or 5 children and she had a newborn, and
Wow.
I was just really made to be aware of there's none of the outer trappings of life as we know it here in
Mhm.
this picture that I see, yet they are family.
Yeah.
They're family living in community. They're sharing water with the family in the tent next door. They're, doing their best to, keep themselves clean and fed and,
Mhm.
all these beautiful things. So I say the foundations of family are so much more than we give energy to.
Mhm. Mhm. Yes, I would
And
agree.
you do that work too. It's not all about the external.
Mhm. No, it's
That family and who we are is really the internal, and we create that. We also co create many of our results
yeah.
from that aspect of who we are.
Mhm. So the work is really important.
Right,
I think that
right.
we often think that our happiness is gonna come from outside of us,
Mm-hmm.
and that if we can just control the how of
Mm-hmm.
how it all is going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
One, I think that's kind of an exercise in calming, trying, an attempt to calm yourself in
Mm-hmm.
situations
Yeah.
sometimes. Yet if we can give ourselves more faith in our ability.
Yeah, and understand that we have a lot of choice.
Yeah.
We can empower ourselves. The biggest stumble block to happiness is the belief that I will be happy when,
Yeah,
right? I'll
yeah.
be happy when, my husband stops this. I will be happy when I get that better job. I will be happy when my child is out of diapers, right?
Yes, yes.
And we're never living in the when. We're not.
No, we're living right now. Right now.
Yes. So we can choose, and it's not easy. I make it sound like these things are easy, and I'm not there yet. Please don't even imagine that I've got this all figured out.
Mm, no one
But
does.
yeah, living in the moment and appreciating the moment for what it is, especially with our children and the
Mhm.
people that we love, is just so vital. So that's the movement I would like to be a part of in my work and helping individuals live
I
this
think
out.
that's such important work, Sue Ellen. It's such
Oh,
important work
thank you.
what you do with families. I really appreciate you coming in and having another conversation with me about this, and we covered different ground today, which was really lovely, and, what is there anything that you have coming up that you want people to know? I want you to have an opportunity to kind of, like, say what your next greatest thing is that you're working on. What would you like people to know to come
Wow.
into your work?
So if you see on my website, there is a program that has been in my heart and in my mind and in development for a while, called Thriving Parents, Thriving Children. And it's a 9-step process. So I am launching in January with a core group of people who are willing to take this on
Mhm.
as to be a part of the development really of this program, and
Beautiful.
test it out and work with me on these 9 phases of what I can do to set this foundation for creating my family in all the ways that
Yeah.
we've talked about. So the beta group will be in January. I'm looking for 5 couples to come along with me and be a part of this.
That
So
is
they can
great.
reach out to me, ask me any more questions about it. I don't want to go on too long about it, but
You're
I am
fine.
excited about that. I would love to work with couples. I'm willing to work with one person in the couple. I think that would make a difference too.
Can you repeat your website?
Right. It's Sue Ellen, SUEELLEN .live, LIVE.
And you have this on your website where they can sign up, anybody that's interested?
Right. There's a diagram
Okay.
of the process and the coaching program that I'm creating. And there's a button to reach out to me to set up a time to talk
Beautiful.
about it. There's a section called Work With Me that is the positive intelligence
Mhm.
coaching program that you could sign up right on the website to do that, or you could again click, the button to contact me, and we'll set up a time to explore, if it's a good fit for you
Yeah,
with the
that's
mindset
beautiful.
work. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that.
Thank you.
Well, thank you again for coming and doing a part 2 with me. I so appreciate it. Your work is so valuable and so important. And I'll be putting all of Sue Ellen's information in the comments so you'll be able to find it. And set up a time with her if you are interested in her Thriving Parents, Thriving Children.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. This is so fun, Josette. You're just beautiful, and you just help me relax. You just get a beautiful
Oh,
presence.
good.
And I wish I would have had you when I, was struggling to recreate myself. Yeah, after children, were
Yeah.
leaving home. It's a challenging and a beautiful time of life. And
Yes,
so
it
I will
really
tell
is.
your listeners and people who are um, in that phase, don't hesitate to reach out for help from Josette, from somebody, because
Mhm.
there's so much potential and opportunity in that phase of life as well.
Yeah, there really is. There really is.
Mhm.
And I'll just do a quick call to action for everyone
Yeah.
that on October 24th is the next art circle for an artist guide to journaling, which is a membership. You can join that art circle for $7 and drop in and see if you like the membership and what we're doing and what it's all about. It's very exciting stuff where we use art and journaling to help reveal your blind spots, to have a different kind of conversation with yourself, and to learn your own art language, tap into your own energy field, and begin having conversations with those little saboteurs that like to come in and throw you off course. So, thank you again for coming to A Soulful Pause, Sue Ellen. And I will see everyone next week.